This is Jackie Capstick, and welcome to my podcast, The Natural Healing Reel. Today, I have another wonderful guest. Of course, I am very blessed in this department. So I get to bring you Danielle Sunberg.
Hi, Jackie. It's so good to be here with you.
Nice to be here with you too. Danielle is a former attorney, and she worked in the whole big corporate world. And I would love to hear the story of how you've gone from corporate world, full on left brain, 18-hour days, probably, I'm sure, pushing the pencil for the hours being logged, to this, to Zen, to coaching, to wellness entrepreneur, to let's hear your story. Give us some bio on yourself so I don't
Sure.
do you any disservice.
Yeah. Thanks, Jackie. I mean, it's definitely a huge pivot to go from your very traditional corporate attorney at a big firm. I was in Washington, D.C., so just like a big metropolitan East Coast city. And then to leave that all behind. And now I'm a transformational coach and Reiki master, which is an energy modality. And, when I left, a lot of people were bemused and thought I was courageous, but also crazy, right? There's a big mixture going on there.
I've never heard that word before. Sorry.
Because when you have, $250,000 education in a particular career, and then you say, goodbye to it, there's a lot of like, what the heck are you doing vibes going around with all the family and friends that. So essentially what happened though is like, I think very relatable. It's not like what happened to me is so strange. I just had created this life based on what had been taught to me, which is hard work, get a prestigious job, get an advanced degree. And it was a very traditional linear track for a career. And also, by the way, both my parents are attorneys. So that helped sway my decision too. And so when I started at this firm, I had this badge of honor, sort of this ivory tower in my industry, which is, what firms tend to represent, this pinnacle of a career where everything is pretty much made for you. You get this incredible salary, and as long as you don't screw up, your life is pretty much laid out for you in a way that most people think is very safe and stable, and they can feel very proud of themselves. And so I said, great, I'm so excited. I finally made it. I can let go of worrying about who I am in the world and whether I'm valued. And what happened was I just got depressed. And I would wake up every day, wanting to just go back to sleep. And it wasn't so much that I was tired. I just didn't want to live my life. And so what happened was I had this huge trial, a federal trial that was like a month long. We were defending a client who was a movie investor. And he was facing a class action lawsuit for $6 billion. And that trial, as much as regular corporate life can run you down, trial really runs you down. So I was working around the clock, like you mentioned, for about a month. And when I flew back to DC from where the trial was, I remember going into my apartment, rolling my luggage behind me. I was so excited to see my bed. I was just going to go take a nap. And I get a call from the partner on the case who I had worked with. And he let me know that the jury had come back with a verdict and that we had won. He was so excited and so exhausted. He was like, I'm going to go take a vacation. I'll see you at the office in 2 weeks. Congratulations. And I said, thank you. I won't see you at the office. I quit. And I didn't know that those words were going to come out of my mouth, actually. Mm-hmm. What had happened is that I had just run myself down to the point where I could not keep going. And so I had no idea what I was going to do next. And I think for a lot of people, that's where the rubber meets the road, is how do I move forward with changing my life if I don't know what I want it to be? And I don't have something set up for me to jump to. And I totally get that. And that's probably what kept me hanging on to that job for so long. But I said the words, I wasn't going to take them back because I meant it. And I didn't know what was going to happen next. I didn't have a job lined up. And I didn't think I wanted to be an attorney anymore anyway. So like, what kind of job would I want? And so then you get into all these like planning questions. Do I just go an idealist or like whatever kind of job site? And, none of that sounded very inspiring to me. So my husband and I left our apartment in DC and gave everything away and just traveled doing the nomadic backpacking thing around the world, and traveled to all these different countries and had an amazing experience just kind of being a tumbleweed in the world, which I'm sure we're all very nostalgic for right now. And in the space of that travel and the exposure to just everything that the world has to offer in different types of being acculturated from different societies where there's different religions. And, we know that. We know that, if you go to Japan, it's like landing on the moon, everything is different. And yet experiencing it not as a tourist, because I wasn't going to be there a week, I was going to be there for a while, where I really got to be immersed in the culture of Southeast Asia for a long time and experience what it's like to have things like spirituality be a part of a foundation for the way those societies are structured, as opposed to kind of in the US, it's like a peek behind the curtain thing and you maybe discover it on your own. It's really just right there in front of you. It hits you in the face. And in that exploration, I really fell in love with it. I fell in love with those questions and where they took me, and the development of what it means to be human from a perspective that I wasn't available to me in the West. Or it is, it's not that it wasn't, but I didn't see it, the access to it. And from that space, I felt inspiration. I decided, oh my gosh, I wake up every day feeling excited to work on these questions and play with them and play with energy. And that became what I wanted to do with my life. And so when I brought it back to the US, it sort of has been morphing on its own into this really cool space where now I'm doing this work with people, and I could not be more satisfied.
That's awesome. That's exciting. And so when you grew up, you didn't grow up under any type of religion or spiritual knowledge?
I did. I grew up Jewish, and I still identify as Jewish.
Yeah.
But, I can speak to my experience of it, but I think it's also easy to extrapolate for any sort of like monotheistic religion or Western Judeo-Christian type of experience, which is that we get a lot of the rules, and this is what we do. And yeah, there's tradition and that stuff too. And that's sort of the fun part. But it's like you go to church every Sunday or whatever. Like there's just the rules, the things that you do and that you follow because you are identified as a Christian or as a Jew. But they didn't have for me that deeper yumminess. Like, why am I doing this? What does this have that's interesting in it for me to like kind of dig into? And I found that so available in the East. Buddhism has basically spiritualism and mysticism and bright lights hanging outside the front door. Welcome, enjoy. Whereas Judaism and Christianity actually have that too, but it's like this little tiny back door that no one really tells you about.
Yeah, why is that? Like, because so I didn't grow up under any kind of, I didn't have any knowledge actually, because my parents both had a bad taste in their mouth, that both their religions turned their backs on them because my dad got divorced and then married my mom. And apparently that was a big no-no. So I think they both felt very betrayed, and so I grew up knowing nothing. No, they didn't educate me at all. It's like, that's not a good thing to do to your child either, because I'm just learning. But when I was growing up, it just seemed very uncool, let's say, for me, because nobody I knew was doing that. Right. And you get all these weird isms in your head about what that means. Right. And I remember my oldest daughter, she wanted to go to Christian school, right? So we done uniform, and I'm thinking, boy, what a great safe place to put her, private Christian school. Oh no, it wasn't. And then I went, oh, that was what my dad was talking about, because like kind of what you're saying is lots of times people, lie, cheat, and steal all week, and on Sunday they're forgiven. And I think he just had experienced so much of that he had such a bad taste in his mouth. People kind of hiding behind their religion, saying, well, I'm a Christian. Well, really, are you? And that's that whole thing, right? Like how do you raise kids so that they feel, or they get that connection, because otherwise, like even you're saying, growing up and having the traditions and the family and watching and going through all that emotion, and you still didn't really connect into really the power of how incredible it is, right? To know where to find yourself in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, Jackie, you bring up such a good point. And, what I would say is that the mysticism and spiritual aspects of Judeo-Christian religions have been sequestered and hidden, because what they offer is a direct connection to the divine, your own, right? You're nodding your head, yeah.
That is the answer.
Whereas in Buddhism, and you get, that's the entire experience, is creating the practices in yourself that allow you to feel connected to whatever you want to call universal consciousness, God, the divine source, whatever. And by taking that away, then you need the priest, you need the rabbi, you need the traditions, you need to go to synagogue, you need to pray, you need to, do all the things that are the doings in order to then get the validation that you're connected.
And I was actually told, we ended up leaving the private school because the church was attached, and then the small town we live in, beautiful sunny White Rock, but the pastor was on sabbatical, and so the principal of the school was now the pastor. And I didn't know anybody from Adam except for my one girlfriend, who was shining like the brightest light you've ever seen, when she started. So now Sarah wants to go because she wants to shine brightly like Deborah. And it was quite an interesting experience, I'll tell you that much. But I just lost my point on what I was telling you. But anyways, just that whole mix, and being asked, oh, I know, they told me that if we didn't go there, that we couldn't have a relationship to God. Now, I knew, even though I didn't really know that I had an understanding of God, but I was working through my own little spiritual practice just to work myself, just to help myself live. And that was Wayne Dyer. He was my little Bible, Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay. And I would just when I was feeling uncomfortable, I would just pick up my books and I'd just open it anywhere and I would read. And within a page, I'd just be like, oh, I feel so much better. It was almost like food for the soul. But I mean, I just didn't have the vast knowledge of like what you would have growing up. It's incredible, actually, because I don't know, religion's a really cool thing, actually. I'm enjoying learning all of the different, but I knew that the rules weren't right.
I mean, essentially what you're saying, like, oh, if you leave, then you can't have a connection to God. That's like the best marketing to, keep people in the hierarchical structure that you want them in. Yeah. It has nothing to do with truth.
That's right.
And you knew that.
Who here was me? I told him right there at lunch. I was like, well, you know what? I talk to God all day long, so I'm good. And I think to myself, I think I'm talking to God.
Talking to someone.
Have the same education they did, right?
Oh,
But of
yeah.
course it was, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. Hey, my our daughter, she's 23. She went and did the whole backpacking in Thailand. I am so waiting for my turn. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yes, definitely take your turn when the time is right. The time will be right, and you will. I mean, look, have you been to, other continents? I'm sure you have.
Well, I haven't done a ton of traveling. I was yeah, a young entrepreneur. So I was busy working and owning businesses and having babies and getting married and doing all those things that I'd never dreamt of as a kid. I got to go on a 10-day Mediterranean cruise with my daughter on a Joe Dispenza course. And I just, it's calling me, like Europe, Rome, like it's just like, are we all from there? Like it just felt like home. The food felt good. It just digested in my body better. It was just an interesting, but no, I haven't been to a lot of places except for, the beaches, Mexico, Hawaii.
But Rome, for me, when I went to Rome in high school, it lived in my soul too. And I studied Italian in college because I wanted to study abroad there. And then I lived there for a while. And then when my husband proposed to me, he took me to Rome for the weekend because he knows how much I love Rome. So there is something, I think, to Rome that you're hitting on.
Oh, it calls me. It really does. Yeah. Oh, that's exciting to hear that.
But I think what you're also getting is just the newness of new places and being able to sort of let go of who is Jackie in your normal everyday life and sort of the patterns and the default personality of who Jackie is when she shows up every day. And you get to explore other parts of yourself and let them shine and get to know yourself in a new way when you're in a new place.
Yeah, good point. It really is. You take yourself out of the environment and put yourself into a totally different environment. And yeah, it really does make a big difference for me. I know when I came back home, you feel really great for about a week and then you're back into that grind, back into the driving the kids and right.
Exactly. I mean, that's why I picked Southeast Asia as my first destination when I left, because I had no idea how to not wear the costume of a big DC attorney. And the best way to do that was to go somewhere where that identity just wasn't relevant. And I had to live the experience of that identity just kind of disappearing on its own because there was nowhere to pull it out and wear it. And what was left underneath was what really I got to explore and go layers deeper and deeper and deeper into like the essence of who are we? Who am I as Danielle, but who are we as a collective species too?
And
Did you figure what is the answer? I mean, everyone has their own answer, I think, but and that's what's awesome about having consciousness and then a lens to see it through, which is uniquely yours, which is why there's 8 billion of us on the planet, because we all get to have our own answer to that question. But what working as an attorney did for me was it didn't give me the time or the space to reflect on that question at all. And that felt constricting. That was what I needed to explore, and I couldn't.
You needed to explore, sorry, one more time.
Oh, I felt the calling of needing to explore what it means to be human, who I am underneath my labels, that kind of thing. But when you're working, the rat race or just the grind every day, and you don't have the bandwidth or the ability to give yourself that time and space to just sit and reflect and go deeply within yourself.
Yeah, what a blessing. What a
Yeah.
blessing.
Yeah.
And
It-
so your parents, how do they feel about your shift? Obviously, they see you glowing, but were they as, I mean, you did a great job, right? And then, okay, what are you doing now?
I know. I mean, for societies, especially in the East Coast, that, I'm going to generalize a little bit, that's so resume value driven. And I had created such a strong one for the particular career I was in. To then let that go isn't just like, oh, what are you going to do next? And why are you leaving? It goes deeper than that for them too, because they've lived their life based on raising a daughter who would be successful under the value system that they know. And if I was throwing that away, then my safety to them was in peril.
Yeah.
And they were concerned. They were a little concerned, but deeper than that, they also trusted me. They knew who I was, and I wasn't actually crazy. So there is a space there for trust to show up, and then time, and then they just got to see how things unfolded for me. And now they're big fans. Yeah, they're really proud of me.
So what, yeah, I bet they are. Your husband, he's always just kind of been walking that same path with you and open and because sometimes in a relationship, one's decided that they're gonna, find themselves, the other one is not. So
Yeah.
that all unfolded by the sounds of it.
We are definitely on that journey together, but very separately. Like, he has his own path into discovering what truly inspires him and what wakes him up. And it's not the same as me,
No.
but he's doing that work too. So we get to kind of do our own thing and come together and share the experience of it and kind of pull gems from each other, and then go back and dive into our own experiences again.
Wow, that's really, really rare, probably, for him to
I
be
don't know.
open and willing to. From what I understand, my husband is the same way. He's really, but we're definitely, I mean, his perception and my perception are way totally different. We're in the same conversation having a totally different one most of the time, thinking we're talking the same language, but we're not. It's funny.
Yes. That still happens with me. I mean, of course, it happens with everybody. But yeah, I remember in our wedding vows, we talked about, loving each other when we first started dating, and loving each other and who we transformed into on our wedding day. And then also being excited to love who we were going to become in the future. And that sort of has been the thesis of our marriage, is like, please change.
Yes, because it's the only thing we can guarantee, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we're just constantly evolving and growing and changing. And I have girlfriends and they say to me, I don't, they're in relationships with men that are not open. They've, you say something about spirituality and they just shut them down, right? Like, oh, you talking about crazy, right? And it's sad. I mean, I get it lots of times too, right? Because you think to yourself, really, that's just mean. What you're saying is just mean. But they're somebody explained it to me that they're just hanging on a different rung of the ladder, right? So that helps me, when there's judgment coming that way, because especially in our polarized universe right now, we're very, very black and white, aren't we? It's such a divide, isn't it? It's incredible. I mean, I think it was intentional, but anyways, here we are, this great divide, and not being able to look at the divide and see all the wrongs, right? Because that's what we're all seeing. We're just seeing the polarization of, oh, yuck, how can they see that? I can't see that, right? It's an interesting time right now, isn't it? How are you coping?
It's so true, Jackie, in a way. And it's also reminding me of, I was introduced to a new friend a couple weeks ago who moved to Austin, where I'm based, from where she's from in Lagos, Nigeria. And when she moved to Austin, we got together for coffee. And she said she just loves being here. She loves the freedom. She sees all the shades of color that are available. And it almost takes an outsider's perspective to remind me of how real and true it still is that that does exist. Because when we get into sort of like the news cycle and the media, and we're here all the time, and we are fed, the information that we're given, it polarizes us, and it polarizes it gives us a focus that is one of polarization.
Yes.
And so that's what we end up seeing. But that doesn't mean that that's all there is.
That's right. I've been working through some really, really deep internal stuff, and it always comes back to us, which is, especially when you're looking at others and you're seeing, like wrong, ugly, bad, negative, right? And really, we're just cleaning up some old garbage that's inside of ourselves, which when you understand and you come to those kind of epiphanies every other week, right? Like, oh gosh, right? And you see what's yours, it's just to let go of it. It's just all debris that's been stuffed and attached and attracted, and for many years that we didn't even know we're sludging around. Right? That's how I feel.
What a picture. Yeah, that's exactly it. And like what I found in my investigation of this realm, let's say, and in the work that I do now, it's, when you keep coming back to that space of inner wisdom, that space of self-trust, that space of being centered, you don't need to figure it all out. You don't need to deal with all the garbage. You don't need to actually address it. It goes away on its own. Right? You know this. Yeah. So, right. So that's like the beauty in it. So you, like, whatever we want to call all that crap in us that pulls us off center, it actually isn't a problem. If we just know how to come back to center, we can find our truth again, which is what many of us are like, well, how do I do that? But it's simple but tricky. That's the work, right? And how long do you stay down? When something triggers you and you go spiraling, which we're all doing every day, especially with the intensities of the energies of the universe right now, how long are you down? Like, that's what Joe Dispenza says. And I love him. His work is phenomenal. It's like, not are you going to go down? Yeah, we're all human. We're going down. Every day you're going to go down. But how long do you stay down? Right? And so that's been my big focus is, I'm out. I'm out. Right? Because we're constantly being triggered because we're not expecting what's coming at us. Right? And sometimes myself, you're tired or you're just not ready for that. Or, it's like, hey, what? And then all of a sudden it's like trigger. And you're in this horrible state of despair. That's victimhood of, everybody's, why did you do that to me? Right? And it's all just a more releasing. It's a gift, apparently. Yeah. I mean, like, I like to talk about, the pandemic and, let's just say 2020, and I don't know if we're calling 2021 now part of 2020, but we'll see. It's like this global boot camp for neural rewiring, of realizing essentially that we cannot create stability and grounding and security from the outside in, and that's all an illusion, and that you really need to find that centered space within yourself, because that's where that true stability and security and self-worth, right? That's where that all really is coming from. 100%. And so how are you teaching people to do this? How are you getting them? What are you,
what's your formula for sharing?
So in my work, I honestly just guide people back to their wisdom when it shows up when we have our time together, because the funny thing is that it shows up all the time. We're just not there to witness how it's showing up and that we're listening to it. But it shows up all the time. And so, for example, I was working with a client who is also going through a transition in her career. And, she is like high up at a big tech company, and she wants to leave and go do something that's actually fulfilling for herself. And all these opportunities are knocking down her door, actually. And it's not like she doesn't have anywhere to land. She just doesn't know which one to choose. And she feels very overwhelmed. And she keeps saying yes to all these meetings, and yet doesn't really want to actually take any of them, but just feels like she needs to get the next thing settled so that she can leave this company that she's at. And so we're talking through it, and it's just like, well, what do you want to do? And she said, I don't really want to take these meetings. I'm like, okay, so what's your truth in that? And she's like, I just want to take a nap. I'm like, okay.
I like this girl.
so like, what does that mean to you? And she thought about it, and she's just like, I need to slow down. Okay. So that is her inner wisdom telling her, actually, the next step in the plan is less doing and more slowing down. And what our rational mind wants to do is reject that, because we need to see the action-oriented plan with all the dots connected that's going to get us to our goal, for our minds to relax and allow us to feel safe. But that's BS, right? Because the rational mind is just doing its job, but that doesn't mean that it's doing it perfectly. And our energy, our body, our inner wisdom knows so much more than our rational mind could ever tell us. And so to just trust, okay, slow down, was very hard for her.
Yeah.
Very hard for her.
Well, and
right, doing that
in the world running right now, right? Everybody's in fight or flight, moving, and the energies are the fastest they've ever been, ever. And so everybody's feeling this intensity. Slow down. Okay, it doesn't feel like it's time to slow down, right? Like, you don't know why, but you can feel, you can feel that it's like this convergence is happening. Do you not feel that? There's an excitement happening right now. I feel that, like, there's a new world that's going to be birthed here, and we chose to be here. Like, it's kind of cool if you think about it that way, right? I mean, I've got all of these friends that are just in fear, right? In fear of the pandemic and fear of the media and everything. They're going to die, and everybody's going to die. And it's hard not to fall into that suit when everybody in your family and everybody's doing that. But I don't know. I think that the white horse is coming through. I don't know. I just believe that something is going to, they say there's all kinds of things that could happen. Solar flash, who knows? I don't know about, if any of that stuff is coming true or not, but I don't know, I'm just babbling, but.
Well, I hear it a lot in like kind of our space that we work in our networks. There's a lot of people talking about this new world that's being birthed, and sort of the transition that we're all going through, and humanity sort of being in this boot camp that I was referencing, and it being a gift in that way, because it's preparing us for the new world, right? And so actually, I would recommend slowing down as a rule of thumb to everyone who feels overwhelmed or is, just going a little crazy with what's going on in the world right now. Because the actual magic in slowing down is that you can speed up faster, right? Because when you are just reaching for the next decision to make, and in a hurried space, you get the immediate sort of dopamine hit of feeling like you made a decision, and that feels safe. But that's where it ends. And if you actually slow down for a minute or two or three or four or five, and take however long it takes for you to go, oh, that's what feels right. That can quantum leap and jump over the decision that you would have made in a hurried state by, just exponential leaps and bounds, and take you way further, way faster, because you slow down just for a couple minutes. And I truly just mean a couple minutes. Like, we don't give ourselves a couple minutes, maybe in the shower.
You know what? You're so right. You are so right. And sometimes when I find myself doing the just healing still from a bunch of traumas, right? So I'll find myself doing the spinning. I'll start to, become ungrounded and start to spin and picking things up around the house. And all of a sudden I'll catch myself in it. And really, I just need to just drop everything and just sit down and close my eyes. And if I can just breathe into my heart space, like the heart math, it's incredible how quick we can shift our whole paradigm, right? Like there's so many incredible tools and so much incredible science that's coming out right now to help ourselves that I find that it's a really exciting time. Of course, because I love this kind of work, but also kind of having to break it all down and like you're doing Reiki, right? Like the energy work, because that's what you're doing Reiki and
I incorporate Reiki into the work with clients.
Moving the energy out of our body. Like my girls and I have been not feeling well for the last week, and then everybody's sleeping, they're in bed. And yesterday I got up and I put on like a chakra dance, right? Because I literally was like a zombie walking around. Nothing's moving, and our bodies are all, I can just feel my body is just all clumped up, like nothing's flowing. So chakra dance, and it's like off of Om, my daily Om. Anyways, just great for grounding, the sacral and the root chakra. And after a couple of those, you're just like, whoo, okay, I'm ready. Because you can feel that you've got stuff that's not supposed to be stuck there, that's starting to move.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's awesome that you do that. That sounds really fun.
What's that?
I was saying that it sounds really fun. Doing this.
Share this.
Yeah.
It's a really good one. Yeah, it's a real juggly, right? It's like you can't not feel good after you do this chakra dance.
But, and like to take it back to like anxiety and overwhelm, because I think that's really important. And like people are like, well, why does that help? Like, how does chakra dancing help me with being stressed, other than like in the moment I feel good because I'm dancing and that's fun and silly, but then I go right back into a state of stress. And so, like we were thinking about this, the thought spiral that you mentioned, of when you're in that space, like that is the momentum that you have mentally, right? Like you're in those thought loops over and over and over, and maybe you break them to think about what you want for dinner, but then you're right back in that stress space of that you're thinking, and you're attached to them. And so what you're doing with the chakra dancing or with Reiki is allowing you to do is just have some space from those thought loops and detach from them for a minute to slow down their momentum. And in that space that you create, you now have, new ideas, new thoughts that can come in, that have a chance for you to see them, because you're not in the spinning of the other thoughts.
It's huge. It's huge. It sounds very basic, simple, but I'm telling you, it is huge for me.
Yeah. And I mean, that's honestly why I incorporate Reiki into work, because a lot of the people I work with are like me, and they're just very linear oriented, type A, traditional career corporate people. And so they're so practiced at living in their minds and in their thought loops because they've gotten them very far in life. Yeah. And to get space from them is sometimes, depending on where they're at, more frustrating. And to just put them on the Reiki table and just say relax for a little bit is way easier. And then they come out of it and they're like, oh, this is space. This is what space feels like.
Space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's when we do I did a lot of the Joe Dispenza. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's got some incredible meditations and he creates space, and it's where healing happens. And it's just like, God, knock yourself off your feet, sit down, right? Close your eyes and just breathe into your heart, even when the middle of it and your hands are full. Like I literally sometimes have to do this to myself. And within 5 breaths in and 5 breaths out into my heart, it's like, yeah, I've got some new thoughts coming through, like just enough to stop that momentum, right? That loop and loop and loop. And it's, once you stop it and you look at yourself back, you're like, oh God, why was I doing the loop again? Because we're patterned and it's just rolling and rolling.
We're just human. Yeah, exactly.
And we're going to fall down every day, he says. And I'm like, oh, good. It's okay. Because I don't know, I tend to beat myself up. It's like, oh, here I am again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so like the simplest, sorry, go ahead.
We're not supposed to beat ourselves up because we're gonna be here again.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Like the simplest thing that you can do is offer yourself grace when you recognize that you're in a spin, because then you're not resisting the spin, which creates more tension, right? So just accept that you're in a spin, accept that you're stressed out. Okay, look, I'm feeling anxious today. And there's space in that, actually, right?
There is. It's not a comfortable space. Sometimes it feels very intense. I was there yesterday, so I was just kind of blaming that. That's great. Do you do coaching online, or how do you run your business? How do people get to see you?
So it's both. For people who aren't local, then it's online through Zoom or something like that. And we chat. And for people who are local, they just come by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a best girlfriend lives in Houston.
Uh-huh.
You're in Austin. Yeah, her brother was in Austin there for a while, but I think he's moved. But yeah, not that close though, is it? Not for her to just pop by.
I know Texas geography isn't like anywhere else. Like 2 cities in the same state mean really nothing. It's not close.
Actually, my coach is living in Austin.
Oh, nice.
Brown. Yeah, she's a real powerhouse. She's her and Dr. Devi, I did a year-long coaching, mind, body, spirit. It was very intense. And just to not know it, but to actually live it, right? And she was on the Hay House run. And anyway, she's just a real talent, and feel very blessed that I was able to be in that course with these 2 leaders, these ladies. They wrote this book, You Don't Look Like a Psychic. You should pick it up because it's fabulous. It talks all about the 4 clairs, and it's just such a good ABC book, for helping when you're coaching people and stuff. It's anyways, blah 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 blah.
That's wonderful. I think that look, to toot our own horns of what we do, but I think having a coach is the most efficient way to navigate your life forward if you want to actually create your life from a place of conscious empowerment. You can do it on your own. You absolutely don't need a coach. But I have one, you have one. Like coaches know you have your blind spots and you need someone to help integrate and apply the insights that can come up for you. And so, I mean, I think that is just the coolest way to be of service, is to help someone just efficiently navigate that space in their lives.
Well, I think it can take years of work out of work for you, right? Because all of a sudden you're like, oh, that epiphany comes, within a couple of days, sometimes instead of a couple of years, right? So we get to move along, and I know when it's the first thing that we won't give ourselves, though, like a coach. Well, I'm going to pay for a coach. Oh, I'll just do it myself, and there's no price bigger that you can give to yourself. There's no gift bigger Yeah. It's incredible, actually, just to have somebody having your back, holding the space of love, lifting you up, kind of catching you, because ego, what are we? 95% in the subconscious brain, right? Which is where the ego lives. And it's protecting us and thinks it's doing a good job.
Yeah. And it does, it does do a good job in certain ways, right? For sure. For sure. And like my favorite part of working with my clients is it's what I love to do. And it's my job to see them for their most powerful self. Because that is the vibration and the space and the energy that I create in the container that we get to hold as coaches, that then offers the client the space to see that in themselves. And that's where that true inner wisdom, that clarity comes from. And those insights pop up, and applying them becomes the next step. And, it's like, it's not about being a cheerleader. It's not about being a teacher. It's not about being a supporter in the way a friend is like, oh, I hear you, and I'm so sorry you're going through that. It's not that at all. It's so much more powerful than that, because it's like, you might hate me sometimes as your coach. You might want to quit. And that's kind of part of the bag, because that just means that you're on an edge. And I see how powerful that you are, that you can move into and through that edge. And you're just in the throe of experiencing that, and that's okay. But I love that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I think that a lot of times people think, well, coaching is like having counseling, and I don't need that, and it's just not that. It's just about having somebody have your back and help support you to round yourself out and to let go of the junk, and to, I hear you. It's such, I don't know. I don't know how everybody's not doing this work. Do you know what I mean? But that's why we're here, is to share with them that this is the way that we can be happy and thrive in this world. I think is to have this information, to have these tools, to meet and have conversations with people like you. I mean, it's everything, I think, right now. And I think that I think that's going to be our biggest work coming up right now, is as things intensify, is just to be holding space and to be helping people up to the next level of whatever's happening, which we don't really know, but that's kind of my vision on it.
I totally agree, because more and more people now are saying, wait a second, how do I actually feel in control of my life? And where do they turn to find the answer to those questions? Well, they're going to turn more and more to people like you and me. And so, I rub my hands together in delight. Yes.
Yeah. Because you know what? It's like, because you want to help, you want to lift, right? You want to hold that space of love, right? So that everybody can lift, right? Because we're all one anyways. And boy, the gift is in the giving, isn't it?
Oof. Jackie, it's funny that you say that, because I've been wrestling with that for a bit. I really have, because someone asked me why I coach and why I love what I do. And I started saying something about how I love providing what I offer to people because I didn't have it, and being this resource and this space, and how much I see other people light up through the experience. And all of that is so true, but it's super not complete, because if I wasn't getting something out of it, then it wouldn't matter if it was lighting other people up. There's so much in that. It's just like an energy feedback loop, sort of, right? Of the giving and the receiving space of it all. Like, I get so much out of it.
Yeah, I know. It almost feels sinful. It's like, did I get as much as you got? Because
now you sound like you were raised up with a religious education.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I'm just getting into the jargon, maybe, right?
Yeah.
But Yeah, it's good. It's important. It's important. So share with us where people can get a hold of you.
I think the simplest thing to do is go on my website, which is my name, DanielleSunberg.com. There's so many different social media handles and ways to get in touch with people. And to be honest, like I have a very love-hate relationship with all of them, and I don't keep up with them regularly. So I would say my website is the best way.
Okay. And do you offer courses online? Like, are you doing just kind of one-on-one stuff? Are you doing group coaching?
Right now, I'm doing just private coaching. There might be a course coming, but right now it's just private coaching. My first next thing actually is a book. And then I think from that book, there will be a course that's born from it. It's all sort of waiting for me.
And yeah,
Yeah.
it's all unfolding. And are you working on a book right now?
Yeah, it's with my editor right now, actually. So, we'll see how it comes back. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see all of the red marks all over it. It's just like, yeah, good, because that's why you exist, to be my editor.
Good for you. Wow, how exciting. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Stepping right out of the box. You stepped right out of the box and into the circle. Good for you.
I wrote as an attorney. That was like basically all I did all day was write. And so I just love it. I truly love it. And I missed it. And so it was a great way of channeling the work that I do now. And it feels like birthing another child.
And speaking of which, you have a daughter?
I do. I have a 20-month-old daughter, and I have a son on the way.
And when is our little boy coming?
He's coming in February. Stay tuned.
Yes. Yes, we will. Oh, that's exciting time. So you've got all of this extra hormones flowing through your body at a time like this. Is that fine? Is that intense?
It was in the first trimester, which I think is the typical roller coaster ride. And it's sort of evened out now. But you know what I still recognize about this space of being pregnant is I don't have bandwidth for bullshit. Like there is nothing in me that is willing to hold on to anything or hold water for anybody else. I just don't have the capacity.
I love it.
And it's the best because there's no internal tension. Oh yeah, I should just overextend myself, or I should call this person and listen to them cry for an hour because they really need me. Nope, can't do it. Sorry. There's none of that. It's just straight from the center. What am I willing to give? What can I do? And that's it, period.
Wow. Love it. That's standing in your authentic power, I think they say, right?
It's a little collie destructive in a way, but yeah, sure. Yeah.
So what would you say to your 80-year-old self?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
You're 80 years old. What would you say to yourself looking back? Your 80-year-old self is saying to you, looking back at your life right now, what? Are you happy with you?
The first thing that comes up is just keep having more fun. Keep having more fun. And it's not like I'm not having fun, but every time I feel reminded, oh yeah, it's meant to just be fun, I get such a little kick out of it. And so I just want more fun. Like make the whole ride fun, please.
You know what? You are awesome. I love you. If I was in your neighborhood, we'd be having wine, I think, after the baby.
That's awesome. Yes.
Well, listen, thank you for coming and sharing your gifts, your perception, your strengths here. I really, really am grateful for your time.
It's been so much fun, Jackie.
Yeah,
really a pleasure.
I think you're amazing. And I think that, we just keep that, it's that raising that energy, right? And that's what we as coaches are trying to share, is just that, right? Is just to lift and love and to let other people know that we are enough. even though we don't believe we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone said the most beautiful, concise definition of the word being, just being, which we talk about all the time, in our world of just not doing and being. Like, what is being? And he said, actually, I'm going to pull it up for you so I don't get it wrong. So sorry for the dead air, but maybe you can edit it out or.
No, this is perfect. We don't edit.
Okay. He said, being is nothing essential is missing. I just loved it.
I like it too. It's like, it just is.
Like, you are enough just by being, but just said in a way that kind of caught me. And I was like, yeah, that's right. That's right.
I love that. Yeah, that's me. That's great. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to catch up with you, and you're going to hopefully share with us your book when it's coming out.
Absolutely. Would love to.
Yeah. Courses or anything. Keep us updated.
Will do. Thanks so much, Jackie. I'm looking forward to staying connected with you.
Sounds good. Okay, take care.